the rabbit's name? I must tell him. No, do not tell him. I promise, things will work out for the best. Are you sure? Positive, my dear. There are a lot of people out there who don't have media literacy. Hi! Everyone knows what an antagonist is, someone who opposes or hinders the main character. But if you ask people who the antagonist is, they'll answer, they're the bad guy! Sure, that may be true sometimes, but more often than not, it's not. To make someone an antagonist, they have to get in the way of the protagonist's goal. This is heavily reliant on who the main character is versus the antagonist. If the main character is a rule follower, a hero, a villain, a cop, a soldier, a doctor, a dictator, who is stopping the main character? Is it a rule follower, a hero, a villain, a cop, a doctor, a dictator, a boss, a lover, an unexpected situation? The list goes on. What is the main character's goal? This can range from trying to save a life to trying to avoid paying late video fees. It ranging from honorable to evil to something more neutral. Not only that, but antagonists also have one of three rules to play. Something Squam Populus goes a lot more in depth than this, but here's the rules. The obstacle gets in the way of the protagonist and demands that they prove their worth. The dilemma is the one where the antagonist gives two choices, asking the protagonist what do they value more, and the mirror reflects the protagonist, making them ask why they do what they do. Any antagonist can fill these roles depending on the story you need. If the main character is the hero, hero versus villain. This is the kind most people think of when they hear protagonist versus antagonist. Hero has to beat villain. Simba versus Scar, Holmes versus Moriarty, the Northville Ninja versus the Sorcerer. The list goes on. More often than not, it's easy to tell the hero from the bad guy because the bad guy wants evil or selfish things. Wander Over Yonder has it where the bad girl sings about being bad just for the fun of it. Codename Kids Next Door is a secret organization of children that fights evil adults. They're not always in the right, but they are willing to fix their mistakes when they make them.
I thought you said we came here to save Leona.
Changing plans. She's an adult and a jerk.
But she wants to be a kid. A big kid once told me, we save kids. That's our job.
Sometimes the villain isn't even that evil, falling more on the neutral side, wanting something they never got that they needed, like a home, love, someone to listen to their problems, etc. Dr. Doofenshmirtz is a good example of this. His parents did their hardest to make him evil, but he stayed in more of a neutral place. His brother is more evil than him and gets away with it. Perry the Platypus is the hero whose job is to stop him, but will hold back and listen if Doof needs it. Then you get the not-so-obvious to the hero villains. These villains will often try to make the hero work with them instead of against, usually through gaslighting, like Mother Gothel, or smooth-talking, like Palpatine. These are the villains the hero has to realize are evil before they can fight them. Sometimes the hero falls for their tricks until the very end, making the ultimate sacrifice worth it. And the last kind of is the hero trying to make the bad guy good. Lilo and Stitch spends her time training creatures made for evil to do good. If the main character is the villain versus hero. This is the least common protagonist versus antagonist type. Take Invader Zim versus Dib, most movie monsters versus their victims, etc. This is where the villain is the protagonist. They want power and demand respect, fear, or flesh. They're mostly set up to fail because they're not supposed to win, unless it's a horror movie, the only genre where the baddie isn't supposed to lose. Take Columbo, for example, an old detective show where every episode has the criminal as the protagonist as they commit their crimes. The detective is the one in the way of their goal or of not being caught. In Invader Zim, we follow an Urkin invader trying and failing to take over the Earth. Dib, who wants to expose him, is his antagonist. Most of the time, you're not sure who to root for in this show because everyone is hilariously horrible and dumb. If both are evil, villain versus villain. These can be either really badly written heroes, like most of Marvel's female heroes, or bad guys fighting threats bigger than themselves. usually under duress, like Suicide Squad, Dragon Ball Z, and The Boys. On some occasions, villains do this in order to redeem themselves, like most of the cast in Atlantis: The Lost Empire and Mirage from The Incredibles.
Great! I can't fly a rocket.
You don't have to. Use the coordinates from the last launch.
Wait. I bet Syndrome's changed the password by now. How do I get into the computer?
Say please.
This is sometimes done while working with the hero. Others do it just for revenge, like Razor from Green Lantern the Animated Series. Yes, Razor was a bad guy for most of the show. Slowly becoming a hero as Hal dragged him kicking and screaming into a redemption arc, completing his heel face turn when he found out the truth.
We now interrupt this wonderful program to give you an ad. This business was started by a homeless man, and he is now using the money to help other homeless people out of poverty. On his site, he sells products that he puts QR codes on that take you to other small businesses. So, curious on what the little guy's selling or want to do your part helping the homeless? Just go to bonfire.com/store/live to inspire/ or click the link in the description. Now, back to our regularly scheduled program.
If both are good, hero versus hero. With this, it isn't always easy to tell, and most people assume the antagonist is evil just because they get in the main hero's way. One comes in the form of the protagonist, hotshot, who thinks they're always in the right, having to face the antagonist who follows the rules. The antagonist is rarely shown in action beforehand, and the protagonist has to come to them. This becomes a test for the protagonist to see if they're willing to submit to another hero's domain and authority. Sometimes the antagonist is the one in the right. The main example of this is Commander Fox versus Anakin. Fox is an officer of the law, obeying the orders of the guy that outranks both of them. Anakin is determined to be let in spite of the order, and because Anakin threatened him, Fox, the antagonist, kicks him out for everyone's safety. Fox was only an antagonistic force because Anakin, and later Ahsoka, treated him like one instead of viewing him as a potential ally to be convinced. They both failed, and Ahsoka almost got sentenced to death for it. Another example is a mentor training his student. The protagonist can't get what they want until they learn the lesson set forth by the antagonist. This happens a lot. Sometimes a good guy thinking he's right goes around chasing the protagonists who are trying to save everyone from the real threat. The A-Team and G.I. Joe Renegades are a good example of this. Everyone thinks they've gone bad because the real baddies frame them for crimes they didn't commit. It's literally in the description. In the 1970s Incredible Hulk TV show, McGee is the antagonist. He's a reporter who chases Banner to expose and stop the Hulk because he believes it's a threat. Banner runs and hides from him to find a cure. They both want to stop the Hulk, but go about it in completely different ways. If both are neutral. This is used in most comedic shows and movies. The Amazing World of Gumball is the prime example of this, as Gumball always finds a way to antagonize someone or something unintentionally. More often than not, the protagonist's goal is self-centered, small, dumb, and simple to do. The antagonist can just be about anything, as they're mostly just reacting to the protagonist or ignoring them. Either way, this one qualifies as a friendly competition. Most sports movies and shows are supposed to be like this. The other team isn't supposed to be evil because it's not a life or death situation. One of the best that I've seen is Haikyuu, a volleyball anime. Especially the dynamic between Shoyo and Kenma. Shoyo is a very outgoing kid who's obsessed with volleyball, while Kenma is more withdrawn and would rather play video games. There are rival teams, yet still become close friends, partly because of this rivalry. Shoyo pulls Kenma's competitive drive that inevitably leads to him actually enjoy playing. Good versus neutral, man versus nature. With this one, the protagonist's goal is to survive, but nature is trying to destroy them or someone else. Natural disaster movies, doctor shows, you name it. It's the hero fighting disorder and time. Sometimes a second antagonist is needed to stir up drama, like a deadly animal, a person trying to kill them for their own survival, or a rival in a love triangle. Most detective and cop shows also fall under this, as they don't know who the villain is. Time becomes the main antagonist until the end. Sometimes the protagonist is up against the unnatural, like Bird Box or the Waters of Mars from Doctor Who. You can't kill it or talk it down. All you can do is survive and hope it doesn't catch you or you catch it. Nature is the ultimate neutral. And last, the protagonist versus themselves. This is when the conflict is internal. Tim Drake, Robin, and Leo from TMNT fight against their own depression and insecurities over leadership. Laura and Carver from The Weekenders have to fight their own laziness.
Worst case of homework paralysis syndrome I've ever seen.
Anxiety, fear, PTSD, anger, ego, and pain all falls under this umbrella, as something under it can also lead the protagonist to cause external conflict by not fixing the internal one first. Starscream for most Transformers shows and movies is taken down by his own hubris, leading to his defeat, making him his own worst enemy. With this versus, most times you don't need an external antagonist. Those become more of a distraction. This conflict can be faced in any alignment. Are antagonists evil? Most of the time, no. Do we need antagonists? Yes, otherwise you don't have anything for the protagonist to fight against. They're meant to build, break, test, and/or stop the protagonist. They push them to their limits and help them grow through conflict. Without them in any form, you end up with a very boring story that no one wants to see. Most movies today. But if you do make them, make sure they hold their own against the protagonist. Otherwise, the protagonist learns nothing and becomes boring. And I know even you don't want to watch that. As we got. Bye! Comment, like, and subscribe. Don't be rude or mean. Bye!